Joining me now, CNN political commentator Bakari Sellers and CNN Chief National Affairs Correspondent Jeff Zeleny. Jeff, first to you. Look, Congress is in a pickle because of what is happening here, because of the ICE actions here in Minneapolis and in other places. What are you seeing as far as whether or not there is going to be a bill, a funding bill that goes through? What's the fight look like in Congress right now?
Sarah, we are seeing some progress in terms of conversations with the White House and Senate leaders over moving forward some of these funding bills. My colleague Manu Raju and I are reporting overnight that there is a big sense really across the board to avoid a government shutdown. This is far from complete, though. There are many things that have to be done. But if worked out, it would work out something like this. The funding bills for 5 agencies or so, the Department of Defense, State, Transportation, would effectively be separated from the Department of Homeland Security funding. The ICE funding we're talking about, that would be handled somewhat separately, and that could potentially avoid a government shutdown. But again, Democrats are holding a firm here. They want to have more oversight on ICE. They want to have more scrutiny on ICE. But even if there would be a government shutdown, it would not impact ICE's operations because of all the money they got last year in the One Big Beautiful Bill that was passed. So the Senate Democrats are holding firm on this. There's no question, but it does seem the White House, so realizing the political position they're in on this, the bad optics of this, they are discussing working forward here to try to avoid that shutdown. So today's a critical day on that front, Sarah.
Bakari, when you look at polling, Democrats are hurting almost just as bad as the president themselves as a whole, the leadership. What should Democrats be doing right now? Because obviously many of them, some of them have shown up here from other states to mark what is happening here, to mark the death of Alex Preddy and Renee Good. What should the strategy be for Democrats when it comes to the fast approaching midterms?
I mean, the first thing is, and I think Jeff Zeleny hit the nail on the head, is that there's not much of an appetite either from legislative leaders or really the Democratic base for another shutdown. I mean, I don't think that people understand the hurt that many normal folk outside of D.C. went through when government shut down. And so there's not an appetite for that. Anything you can do to avoid that. And the practical reality is that the One Big Beautiful Bill that many of us were fighting against a year ago ensured that ICE would be funded going forward. But I have to say something that Raphael Warnock, Senator from Georgia, Ro Khanna, are probably the only 2 individuals that I've seen outside of those local elected officials who are from that area, who've gone there to lend their voice, and props to them. But this is where you highlight the real leadership that we see. I mean, former St. Paul Mayor Melvin Carter, Attorney General, starting Lieutenant Governor, although she's in a race for Senate, Patty Flanagan. You're seeing these individuals step up and lead in Minnesota, and that's a fascinating thing. I'm not sure that many Americans know that 4,000 ICE agents converged on Minneapolis, on Minnesota, and are wreaking havoc in that city. The most important thing Democrats can do is continue to keep the visuals pumping, because from the Edmund Pettus Bridge all the way to Minneapolis in 2026, people move in this country only when they can see others hurt, when they can see the pain. And Alex Preddy taught us an answer to a question, Sarah, that we've all been asking ourselves and makes the country shiver, for better or for worse, which is what happens when the country sees a white person being gunned down by law enforcement? We're getting the answer to that question in real time. And as long as we keep our eyes and our lenses, because of the work that you do and other independent journalists do on Minneapolis, we'll be just fine.
I do want to just follow up with you, Bakari, because we had something happen here that is unprecedented again, and that is that the ICE agents tried to get into the Ecuadorian consulate here in Minneapolis. According to the consulate, they were able to keep them out. But this really goes against international law. What do you see happening here by the administration and the tactics they're using? This is after Alex Preddy was shot. It was after, the actions here of ICE that got everyone into the streets. What do you make of that?
I mean, it's incompetence. I mean, I think it goes back to the fact that these ICE agents have a shorter training period than both Jeff and I's barber, right? 47 days is just not long enough to go out and learn how to be a law enforcement agent in this country. They don't understand things like law enforcement tactics, and they don't understand complicated issues like sovereignty. But that leadership comes from on high. I think Kristi Noem, many people consider this to be low-hanging fruit, but I think Stephen Miller needs to be fired, and I think Kristi Noem needs to be impeached. Things that Democrats can push for, things that Democrats can call for in the lead up to the November elections, and things that should stem and start from Washington, D.C. I'd love to hear those words come out of Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries' mouth.
And we should mention Stephen Miller is the person that has said that they want to get 3,000 immigrants, undocumented immigrants, out of the country to arrest them a day, which has put a quota on this, which has certainly, according to local law enforcement, ratcheted things up here in a major way. I do want to end with you, Jeff Zeleny. We're seeing some political fallout, if you will. A Republican here who was running for office has decided to end his campaign because of what is happening here. And now we're seeing a move by the senator here. Jeff Zeleny, what are you learning?
We are learning, Sarah, this morning that Senator Amy Klobuchar, of course, a four-term Minnesota senator, formally is entering the race for governor. Of course, the politics have been upended in Minnesota all month long. Governor Walz announced on January 5th he would not seek re-election in the wake of a deepening fraud investigation. Well, just a couple days after that, Renee Good was killed. And of course, we've seen the events unfold from there. But Senator Klobuchar this morning in a new announcement video explains how difficult things will be, but she pledges to unify the state.
Minnesota, we've been through a lot. A beloved leader and her husband murdered in their home, little kids gunned down in a church, the killings of Renee Good, a mom of 3.
And Alex Preddy, a nurse who took care of our veterans.
3,000 ICE agents on our streets and in our towns, sent by an administration that relishes division. I believe we must stand up for what's right and fix what's wrong. That's why today I'm announcing my candidacy for governor of the state of Minnesota.
Now, there are already nearly a dozen Republicans in the race. It's unclear if any Democrats will also jump in. But Senator Klobuchar, of course, has a long record of winning votes from across the aisle, Republicans, moderates as well. This will be a big test for her. There's no question. Minnesota will be on the front lines of the midterm election battle over immigration, over executive power, executive authority. But there is no doubt that Senator Klobuchar changes this race dramatically. And again, she is pledging to try and unify the state and move it beyond its battle with the federal government, Sarah.
Yeah, it's a huge political shakeup, a very emotional time here. We're seeing all of the fallout from the aggressive movements from Trump when it comes to immigration. Bakari Sellers, Jeff Zeleny, it's always a pleasure, gentlemen. Thank you. John?